Hey, it's me. And today I'm going to be talking about my newest hyperfixation, Delicious in Dungeon, or Dungeon Meshi if you're a nerd. It's the newest anime adapted by Studio Trigger from the manga, originally created by Ryokyo Kyu, I think, and this goddamn show is my number one for this year, and definitely in my top 5 of all time, probably top 3. And it's mostly due to the incredible character writing and world building of Ryokyo Kyu, along with the exceptional animation skills of Studio Trigger that we've all come to expect from them. Quick summary. Dungeon Meshi starts with the main party getting absolutely rocked by a red dragon and being sent back to the surface with a return spell casted by Fallon, a mage in the party, and Laios, the leader of the party's sister. After this, almost half the party leave because of their own reasons, and Laios vows to save his sister from the red dragon, but without food, delving as deep as they were in the dungeon is out of the picture. So, Laios comes up with the awesome idea to eat the monsters of the dungeon, thus setting the stage for the rest of the show. Dungeon Meshi does a lot of things right. Not much wrong, and most things better than other anime. In my opinion, at least. These being far more restrained fan service scenes, often being less revealing than other animes, or they're of Senshi, which it's not a fan service, it's a necessity. Which brings me to my next point, the characters. Every character is written extremely well, and they're all so unique and quirky in their own ways that I can't help but gush over them. They feel like real people, which is definitely kind of the point when writing a character, but let's be honest, there are definitely shows that don't accomplish that. They aren't just positive Mary Sues who are good at everything or good at something after one episode, or are just friends with everyone, Kabru. Laios, my spirit animal, is terrible at judging people's character and is only really good at being an adventurer, having deserted the army to become one. Senshi is very knowledgeable in the dungeon and its inner workings, but refuses to use magic and throws a hissy fit whenever he's asked to, viewing it as too easy, and that it will degrade the skills he has. Marcel hates dungeon food and is constantly worried about being useful to the party, so much so she goes off by herself to harvest mandrakes and it goes less than well, all because she wanted everyone to apologise for unintentionally calling her an anchor. Chilchuk is the one who called her an anchor. Chilchuk's just an asshole. Izitsumi, the Kibiti, who is introduced later in the series, is generally not super likeable early on, but you slowly warm up to her as the series progresses and she mellows out towards the other party members. And once you realise she's 17, it makes a little more sense when you realise she's not even an adult. All of these scenes together accumulate in some really believable character development as well. Marcel learns to rely on other party members more later in the series, and enjoys dungeon food more. Senshi allows magic to be used on him more, and even Chilchuk stops being as much of an asshole. Laios just kind of keeps being himself. It's even done in such a believable way because people's personalities don't make complete 180s out of nowhere. Senshi still doesn't like magic, he's just not completely against it in every way. Chilchuk's still a bit of an asshole, and Marcel still struggles a bit with being useless in smaller fights. Similarly, the character decisions and motivations all feel accurate to the characters. For example, after Fallon's mishaps, Shiro, an ex-member of the party, goes off to get people to rescue her and for supplies, for reasons we find out later. Laios, on the other hand, who we know really likes monsters and kind of wants to see if he can eat them, heads straight back in. Their motivations match with their characters. Shiro doesn't even think about eating monsters, and is even surprised to hear Laios has been doing so when they meet later. Whereas Laios doesn't really think about gathering others, other than by paying them, but with no money he doesn't linger on that thought for long. Now, I've talked about the writing for quite a bit, and I will again, but I briefly wanted to touch on the animation again because some of the scenes are masterfully crafted. Some because of the lack of animation, specifically this one scene with Marcel early on in the season, when Laios is being weird. Laios is my spirit animal. And Marcel just gives him a face.
比べて対象を逃さず殺さず捉える必要がある。その締め付け具合が動けないけど不快にならない程度の微妙なバランスをしてて、すごく気持ちがいいと思うんだけど、どうだった？また怒らせてしまった。
今のは俺でもちょっとどうかと思うぜ。
And with no animation or any sound, we just get a close-up of her face, which is not the kind of comedy I often see in anime, or at least not the ones I've seen, and definitely not in other media. But moving back into the characters, I now want to touch on the rest of the cast, because even the side characters are such a diverse and varied group, with each one being so amazingly well written to the point the show doesn't even feel like writing an animation put together. It's just people doing shit. Like, this is a live stream, and these are real people. Every time they do stuff, I'm sat here thinking, yeah, I fully believe that that person would do that because they're just so well written and the motivations are put across so well. One specific character I want to touch on is Kabaru, who I mentioned earlier, who I despise. Not because he's poorly written, but because he's the antithesis of my favourite character, Laios. Whereas Laios has poor character judgment and is socially awkward, Kabaru has his entire party wrapped around his finger, all of them thinking he's one day going to be king of the island. Even managing to convince some elves later in the season to follow his plan rather than whatever they were going to do, which I won't say because, spoilers, watch the show. He's so good at talking to people. However, whereas Kabaru is good at socializing, because he's so cool, Laios is a good adventurer. Kabaru is... yeah. Even how the characters talk is very well done, which is a testament to the voice actors who have really brought the characters to life. The main cast is voiced by Emily Rudd of One Piece fame as Marcel, Casey Mongillo, I think, as Chillfuck, who has been voice acting since 2006, Sungwon Cho, who, I think I've said that right, who, if you have ever been on the internet, you should know as the funny board game man, who voices Senshi, Demian of Smosh fame as Laios, and Laura Stahl as Izitsumi. I only watched the dub, can you tell? Each one of the voice actors do a wonderful job of bringing the emotions and personalities of the characters to life, and I don't think there's a single poorly voiced character in the entire main cast. That's including people outside the main party like Shiro and Namari. But enough about the characters of the world, let's talk about the world itself. It's awesome too. The only bit of criticism I have is the scale of the dungeon is a little bit whack. It's apparently been around for 6 years, but there's still stuff people haven't found out about it, even on like the first and second levels. I'm looking at you, Living Armor. But other than that, the world building and the dungeon itself is so good. We don't know tons about the world in general, but we know quite a bit about the island and the dungeon itself. Most of which I'll avoid telling you because, spoilers, watch the show. Even the monsters had their own cool quirks and biologies, like cockatrice eggs looking like weird sacks because they're half snake, or the mandrakes being tastier when you harvest them properly. It all makes the world feel more alive and really makes you want to learn more about it, especially with things not just being explained as magic lol. Even how the dungeon itself works is explained in detail, which I'm still not going to tell you, watch the show. Even the soundtrack goes hard as fuck, which is technically subjective, but I'm including it anyway. This channel's a dictatorship, not a democracy. Each intro is animated amazingly, and the music all goes so well with the series. Everything I've gushed over for like the past 8 minutes, it all comes together to make one of my best viewing experiences I've had in a long time. Like, I've watched this show twice, which I just don't do. I can count on one hand how many shows I've watched twice. 3. It's 3, by the way. They're Arcane, Full Metal Alchemist, and Delicious in Dungeon. And yeah, that's my review. Good show. Thumbs up. Rip Skyfish. Follow me on Twitch. Subscribe.